What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Planet Soccer Show. Of course, your co-host here, I'm Reed Simpson. That's Dylan Wilcox, and today we are talking round 16 of the 2022 FIFA. 3 sentences in, already mixed it up. FIFA World Cup in Qatar. Dylan, we just finished up the last round of 16 game. I'm going to tell you right now, I like Portugal a lot more when Cristiano Ronaldo's not playing. It's a more fun team to watch. It's a more likable team. We'll talk about them. We'll talk about everybody else. We won't talk quite as much about the USA game. Unfortunately, we've had some technical difficulties this week dealing with his phone, unrelated to the podcast, and then me with my computer. So I haven't been able to edit that episode yet, but we will get both of these out. And you guys can, if you haven't already, make sure to go watch the USA Netherlands recap before you finish this episode, just so you can have kind of a precursor on the US game. Dylan, round of 16, here we are. For a lot of teams, this is when the World Cup really starts. For the Frances, for the Brazils, this is the start of the World Cup for those teams. First impressions, and give me a winner and a loser of the round of 16.
Winner is Portugal for me. I mean, I think there's a lot of people coming into this tournament, myself included, were skeptical of where they would perform. You look at the lineup and the roster, it's just disgustingly deep. We've said that about a couple sides, but I think Portugal's kind of that slept on deep side because Cristiano draws so much attention from the casual fan, and rightfully so, understandably so. But that's where a lot of, if you're watching the garbage Fox broadcast, you'll see that's where 95% of their talk around Portugal is centered. So I think they were kind of unheralded, the rest of the team coming into it. And for me, my X factor of that group was Cristiano, and was he going to hold them back was the X factor. Not like your traditional, like, is he going to put the team on his back, but like, is he going to...
More so off the field.
Is he going to get in the way of team chemistry and moving forward throughout the tournament? And coming into this game, I was I had a parlay placed on Portugal advancing, but it was like that was the scary leg for me because of all of this Cristiano hoopla. Like the captaincy may be taken, he may be benched. He ended up getting benched, and I was like, oh boy, this is where we could see the wheels fall off because of that off-field drama. Yeah. But man, they put that to bed quick. And Goncalo Ramos is a absolute stud. He was a Newcastle link for a while. He's kind of stepped in at Benfica after.
Now he's going to be an everywhere link.
Yeah,
one of those players. Pedro Porro, all those guys. That
I didn't catch the second half, but I believe he finished with a hat trick today against Switzerland. And only played 70 minutes or so.
Yep.
So they were just incredibly
minutes, 3 goals and an assist.
Incredibly dominant. And I know for a casual fan, you see Portugal, Switzerland, they should be able to beat them handily. But they played twice in June, and Switzerland beat them both times, once, I believe, by 3 or 4 goals even. So it was kind of a big message sent from Portugal that they are here for real this tournament, and none of the Cristiano drama is going to kind of get in the way, or at least so it appears at this time. As far as loser, we touched on a lot of it in our U.S. recap, but I think I do have to give it to the U.S. It felt like we had kind of turned the leaf over a little bit, and we're progressing to show we are a different side than the world has seen in the past on the international level. And that performance against Netherlands was just so stereotypical U.S. men's national team in the knockout. So I won't go too in depth to that. As you said, check out that recap podcast that will be posted around the same time as this if you want more details. But for me, the U.S. is kind of the loser just because we thought we were making strides, and it feels like we took a massive step backwards in that game.
Yeah. For me, I actually have different ones across the board than you, which is good because that doesn't always happen with us. My winner, I don't think they necessarily won the round in my mind, but England just continues to give me more confidence in them each game they play, which I know is just going to result in a crashing defeat and penalties. But they do look good, and they look like they can score and defend, which we knew the talent that England had, but we didn't know if they could put it together in complete games. And their win versus Senegal was certainly a complete game. The losers for me are, the loser to me is Spain, to dominate a game like that. And, Spain's going to beat, number of passes and all that, possession. They're going to beat most teams they play in those statistical categories, especially passes. However, Morocco, similar to when Saudi Arabia beat Argentina, they just had a really good game plan for them today. And what an what an abysmal penalty round for Spain.
Yeah, we saw 2 of those.
Yeah, props to Bono. You know, he guessed right 3 times, but I mean, even if he hadn't guessed right and he had waited for those kicks to be taken, they were just such poor penalties that he probably could have saved them. And then another loser, which it sounds weird to call Japan a loser of this group, but they had it. Like they had it, and I would only say that because I thought they could do it. They had the lead, and they weren't able to hold on to it, and then another abysmal penalty round. So probably pretty harsh to call them. They're not a loser of the round of 16, but the way they lost and the performance they put in pins kind of lends to that.
No, especially the high coming out of winning that group, that absolutely stacked group, despite losing to Costa Rica. I mean, they lost to Costa Rica. Like just thinking about that for a second, they lost to Costa Rica, but beat Germany and beat Spain, and then lose to Croatia in the round. Like, it's just such a weird World Cup for them, and it feels like so many opportunities were missed when finishing first in that group. But not that Croatia is a walkover first round match up for them, but you put yourself in position where you do get to play a second place team, and you blow it on some, like you said, just some super disappointing penalties. It was tough to watch as somebody who was kind of not adopting Japan as my team, but I was kind of rooting for them, just kind of some of that new blood in there, and kind of a fun team to watch, especially the performances they put up in group play. So yeah, certainly disappointing, but I agree. I'm not really calling them the losers because they already exceeded expectations with 2 just phenomenal, historic really wins for them.
Let's move on to the games, and let's start with today's games and move backwards just to mix it up a little bit. We've already kind of hit on Portugal and Switzerland. I mean, really, the whole Portugal team stood out to me. I think it's hilarious that Cristiano Ronaldo was subbed on at 5-1. That's hilarious to me.
It's a slap in the face, and I'm here for it.
He did not look happy for any of Portugal's goals, especially the goals that Ramos came out and scored, who was playing in the striker position.
Yeah, the only one I noticed him get, I unfortunately didn't have a chance to catch the second half because, as you said, I was having phone issues today, so I had to go get that fixed. But in the first half, I saw him get super pumped for Pepe's goal, and that was it. He looked pretty not excited for all the others, but that one he like rushed onto the field because one of his longest standing teammates, and so it was. Honestly, I dog on Cristiano a lot. It was kind of cool to see him excited for anybody scoring a goal because I totally had him pegged as pouty 4-year-old who didn't get the toy he wanted for Christmas sitting in the corner.
Which he still looks like for a lot of that game.
Right. But the fact that there was any point that he didn't do that, I was like, all right, I guess kind of props. But yeah, he's still a whiny SOB that I am loving seeing, almost embarrassed on this stage. And I almost... I think some of the comments that the manager came out with leading up to the game, like Cristiano will do as we say, like it's just not what I would expect a Portuguese manager to say with the fame and notoriety that Cristiano brings. Having the courage to stand up to a guy like that, essentially for the betterment of your team on the world stage is. I mean, that's huge. And I think that has kind of put to bed any of my suspicions that he has any chance to ruin this for a very good Portuguese side. The manager's coming out and saying...
he is not bigger than the team.
Right. And that's awesome if you're a Portugal fan. I've always disliked Portugal, mainly because of him. But there are some redeeming qualities of this side, so I'm trying to be a little bit less biased against them. Now the only thing left to hate is Bruno, the second best Bruno in the league. So... It is kind of nice, though, to see like this new, because Portuguese football at its core is a lot of fun to watch. It's just been tainted by this jackwagon of Cristiano doing his flexing during the, what was that trend called in like 2012? The mannequin challenge. Have you seen that video?
Oh, I've seen the mannequin challenge, but I haven't seen Cristiano Ronaldo do it.
Oh my God, the Portuguese national team did one. I think it was at a Euro tournament, and he just looks like the shirt off, just like these tiny like sport workout shorts on, flexing while everybody else is doing something funny. And it's just so peak Cristiano, and he was the center of attention. But so now seeing a Portuguese team that's able to remove him from the center of attention and still accomplish great things, and arguably could see them accomplishing even more without him is awesome as a Cristiano hater. I'm almost rooting for him now.
Shout out to Fernando Santos, Portugal's coach, Fernando Santos. He was, I think, you think about the publicity that Greg Berhalter's gotten within the U.S. fan base and U.S. media. Fernando Santos has gotten similar leading up to this World Cup. Within, I don't speak Portuguese, so I don't really know what was said, but I've seen, my guy Alex with FC Wonder Kid. He is Portuguese, and he had a lot to say about Santos leading up to this World Cup. So I think for him to be able to tell Cristiano, I don't know what he told him, but like, you're being benched. Sorry. Like, we're going to go at this without you. And it's maybe the best team performance in the World Cup besides Brazil yesterday. You could flip a coin and pick the performance there. But just, looking at these subs, you've got João Felix coming out for Ronaldo. You've got Otavio coming out for Vitinha. You've got Bernardo Silva coming out for Ruben Neves. Bruno Fernandes coming out for Rafael Leao. Embarrassment of riches. The team is worthy of winning a World Cup, and I would feel better about them winning the World Cup if Ronaldo is a lesser part of that. But I am a Messi fan, so I don't want Ronaldo to get a World Cup at all.
I know, that's where I'm kind of torn. Like, I would love to see them win one this year in spite of him, because I don't know if they will quite be able to do it in 4 years. I think they'll still be around and still fighting, but so much changes every 4 years. Like, I don't necessarily want to put it off, and there are so many guys on this side that I would like to see win a World Cup outside of Pepe and Cristiano. So I am kind of torn. It'd be awesome to see them do it while he's sitting on the bench, doesn't sniff the field until the 90th minute as like a sympathy sub in the finals or something. I would think that's hilarious. But at the same time, I would love if he just never got a World Cup to deter his legacy, essentially, because that would be a thing he has to hold over Messi, and I just don't want him to have that.
Messi is certainly outperforming him in this World Cup, which we'll
get
to here in about 10 minutes or so. Moving on to the first game of the day, Spain and Morocco. I'll go ahead and put up the attacking momentum chart on this one, and this is one of those where it's like just ridiculous. I mean, Spain dominated this entire game. They were on the attack the entire game. Possession wise, 77-23. Shots on target. I'm sorry. Total shots was 13-6. Shots on target was actually 2-1. Morocco. The thing I always like to look at with Spain is the passes. Accurate passes, 926 accurate passes to 216. Spain passed the ball 700 more times than Morocco did. I mean, this was
and for reference, Portugal. I mean, for we do have some casual fans. Portugal today wins 6-1. Demanded a decent chunk of the ball at times, but it was a decently split. But still, they put out a really solid performance. Scored a lot of goals. Only had 450 passes. So, like, to put
that's
in
pretty
perspective,
standard. Like, a good team that wins the game.
450, 700 is a really good game for a lot of teams. But yeah, getting in the 900s is absolutely absurd domination of the ball, and they just couldn't do anything with it. As you said, they had one shot on target, I believe, and had a plethora of chances. They just didn't put any good shots on goal, really.
Morocco put it on a masterclass of football terrorism today.
Yes,
absolute masterclass.
Conte would be proud.
When we say football terrorism, we mean 11 men behind the ball. Good luck scoring. Everybody's in the box. You're not getting any chances, which is kind of what happened. So I don't have a whole lot to say on this game other than it was 0-0 and Spain put together a horrible penalty sequence.
Yeah, so obviously the penalty sequence was awful. I give credit to Morocco's goalie still, but the penalty sequence,
he was awesome.
Penalty sequence overall was pretty poor. First one off the post, and then two pretty straightforward saves for the keeper. Still have to make sure you're getting on the right side of it, but pretty straightforward. For me, what my biggest fear, and I'm pretty sure I said this in Spain's group preview, that my biggest fear with Spain was the youth and lack of composure under high pressure, and I thought that was going to come through in the game against Germany. It didn't really. They did look really good there, but I think this is some of the concerns I had with Spain going into the tournament that were muted, if you will, in group play came to light here. They did dominate the ball.
I don't know if it was their age as much.
It was just that like inability to.
Hold on, you're lagging.
Sorry. Yep, you just lagged on me too. You good?
Did we both just lag on each other?
Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't think Spain's youth was to blame as much as it was, which you also mentioned in the group preview. Their just lack of a goal scorer.
It was.
I think Pedri and Gavi were fine, but they're midfielders and they're not really scorers. I actually thought Sergio Busquets was pretty poor in this game.
It was just that kind of lack of composure on that final ball, whether it be that final pass or whether it be, that final look at goal. It just wasn't all there, and we saw that specifically for me from Morata, who was phenomenal in group play. He was one of the better forwards probably in group play so far. I believe he had 4 goals, maybe he only had 3, but I believe he was flirting with the golden boot there for a little bit, but he kind of, when he did come on today, I don't know if it was a strategy to make sure you had him for an extra time if it went there, or penalties if it went there, and that's why he wasn't started. But when he did come on, he just did not look at his best, at least in comparison to what we saw earlier in the tournament. So for me, that was highly disappointing from Spain.
He had 2 shots, none on target, and 1 big chance missed. So you want your goal scorer to not miss those big chances for sure. That you brought up an interesting thing. I was talking to a coworker today. He's from country boy Texas, doesn't know a whole lot about soccer, and we were talking about the Cristiano Ronaldo situation. He actually brought up a good point, which it didn't matter in the Portugal game, but if you have, say, a guy like an older guy like a Modric, who I know doesn't take the penalties for Croatia necessarily, but say an older attacker, you might not know if he can go 120 minutes and then PKs. Do you not start him and then bring him on after halftime so he doesn't have to play? It's a strategy that I never had thought about before, and I don't know what the answer is. It's hard to ask a 36, 37-year-old to, hey, you're going to run for 2 halves plus extra time and then take PKs. That's something that these managers have to factor in a little bit, which when you're a team like Brazil and it doesn't matter. Like, 1, you're not going to get to penalties. 2, it doesn't matter who you have on the field because anybody can play and anybody can score. Just a little caveat that shout out to Parker that he brought up today.
Yeah, and I think there's a good chance that was part of the reason. I mean, Morata's not like old. He's 31, 32.
Yeah.
But
for anybody, it's hard to go 120.
Right. For anybody, especially when you're going to have that much of the ball and be on the front foot that much of the game. Mm-hmm. But you do have to kind of ask, like, wouldn't you rather just win it especially if you're Spain against Morocco? It's a game you probably should win. So why not just start your best 11 and then if it gets to penalties and you lose at that point, then you go, hey, at least we threw it all at them for 90 or 105 or however many minutes you can play those goal scorers. At least we threw it all at them, and kudos to them, tip of the cap. But not putting out your guy who was leading the tournament in goals up to that point until the end, and then he's not even one of your first 3 penalty takers either. Like that whole situation just kind of confused me. I don't know enough. I admittedly don't know enough about Morata. I don't know if he is a penalty guy or not. But that was my only theory on him was he saved for extra time / penalties, but then you don't see him take any of the first 3 penalties. It's like, I don't know. But I think for them, a lot of it came down to the lack of that. And we saw it for the U.S., a lack of that final ball, either pass in the box or that shot in that final third. It was just missing there for Spain.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. So let's move on to Brazil, South Korea, a game that, I mean, come on. It was a Brazil masterclass. It was, Samba to a T. poor South Korea, they really didn't have an answer. I am glad they got that goal. But overall, it was domination. Complete domination.
I was happy for them, but as a bettor, I was a little salty because I was on the fence between over 2.5 or both teams to score. I was like, I don't know. I could see like a 3-0 Brazil here, and the odds would have paid out a little better on the both.
Did you look at Brazil to 0?
Yeah, and I wasn't super convinced with that either because I don't know. I just had a weird feeling about Sonny yesterday, just putting the team on his back for a goal, not to like win the game or anything. But I was like, man, I don't know. So I opted going with the over. So and I'm sitting there like cashed in like the 29th minute after Brazil gets their third. I'm like, sweet, see you later. And then both teams to score hits. I was like, damn. Yeah. I guess I should have looked at that one. But yeah, overall Brazil, this was an absolute masterclass for 36 minutes. All 4 goals scored in the first 36 minutes. Neymar got another via penalty with another assist. Like I'm so excited for him because I feel like he's just got such a bad rap on the club football stage, and we've seen he got knocked out of a previous World Cup due to injury. So seeing him really show out on the world stage in the World Cup is awesome. I've always appreciated him.
His Netflix special? Have you watched?
I haven't yet. I really.
It like made Shelby, my fiance, like a fan of Neymar. She like asked me about Neymar.
That's awesome.
It's so well done. Like it really puts into perspective. Okay, this dude, like, yes, he's Brazilian. Like, there's the flair. The Roy Keanes of the world are gonna hate him, and unfortunately, Roy Keane has a really big platform. Which, whatever. But he's a good person. Like, he really is, and he's
but he's got dyed blonde hair and tattoos and plays with flair. So your English football pundits aren't going to like him, and they're going to tear him down. And like he's
been a great teammate. I mean,
right.
You really can't, unless you're just talking about him dancing after goals. You can't say
they all negative.
Do. Yeah, you can't say much negative about him.
That's just Brazil. Yeah. That's the samba. That's the jogo bonito. Like, that's just part of Brazilian soccer that makes it so much fun. That's why I would love Newcastle to be a full Brazil start, not just for talent, just pure entertainment. Like, have fun. Sports are fun. Like, it doesn't have to be like that's my biggest problem. With English football in general is like there's that like little bit of gatekeeping at times. Like, no, this is the Premier League. We play in the mud
thing.
I'm not here for that, man. Like, have fun. It sounds so cheesy and cliche, but this is a beautiful game when it's played at the highest level. Why dump on that? Why rip on guys for that flair? Now, that being said, I'm not a fan of necessarily the Saint Maximin like dancing around, like that's goofy, or Anthony's like spin and then pass the ball to nobody. Like that stuff's a little bit much. But like Neymar, you don't see that stuff. Like Neymar has a flair. It won't always work, but has a flair that has purpose.
Flair. Yeah,
it has flair with purpose, though, not flair for flair's sake. And I love Neymar. Obviously, with the 2 Brazilians at Newcastle, I'm a little Brazilian partial now because I just love watching those 2 play. Only one made the national team, but still, like I just feel like I have a little bit of Brazil fun connection now, and I love watching him play. So I've enjoyed a lot of Neymar the past couple of years, and I can't stand the crap he gets. So I love seeing him ball out in this tournament because he's showing the world that he is everything he was hyped up to be. Yeah. And he deserves it. And it feels weird saying like this Brazil generation deserves it because every Brazil generation wins.
Yeah.
Right. But like there's something about this Brazil side that I've just kind of fallen in love with. And I'm a huge fan of them. And that game that was yesterday just furthered that. It was a lot of fun to watch, and I'm excited to see them progress.
Yeah. Last thing on this game, I've texted you twice after Richarlison scored just beautiful goals. The one he scored yesterday, the whole sequence was ridiculous, and then his bicycle kick. And I'm yet to get like a response out of you that recognizes his greatness.
No, you won't.
And I would like to appeal directly to Antonio Conte right now. Antonio, for the love of God, play Harry Kane in front of Richarlison or behind him, whatever a 10 plays to a striker, and please let them play off of each other. Because, oh my gosh, have you seen what this guy's doing in this World Cup? Please. And Harry Kane's one of the best creators in world soccer.
Right.
His vision, like, I'm going to scoot back now. I mean, it would just be so beautiful. Like,
and that's gorgeous. The thing. Not to spend too much time on Tottenham or the EPL right now, but that's one thing that Richarlison, like I was watching the fantastic production of the Fox coverage of the World Cup, and Alexi, your favorite guy, was given his player power rankings and had Richarlison third, and Dempsey was kind of giving him some slack for it because all he's done is finish. But that's all he needs to do for this team. But at Tottenham, he's being asked to do more than that.
He's wing.
Right,
wing is his natural position,
but it doesn't need. It shouldn't be. like watching him play and the way he's performed in this Brazilian side. Yeah, I hope for your sake, not for Newcastle's sake, but I hope for your sake, Conte's sitting at home going, maybe I should switch things up. But knowing Conte, it'll be back to the same old Conte ball in mid-December or late December.
We'll see. Let's move on to Japan and Croatia. We tried to get Nick on, our resident Japan expert. Timing didn't work out, unfortunately. That guy's always on an airplane. This game, I mean, death taxes in this Croatia generation, I guess, finding
a way.
Quarterfinal, yeah. They didn't do anything cool. They didn't do it. I mean,
not at all.
Perisic's goal was freaking sick. Don't get me wrong. He's standing on like the 30-yard box, and not literally, but he's pretty deep and power header accurate. It was a good goal. Don't get me wrong. Beautiful ball in. However, they just don't wow you. Croatia really doesn't, but it's like Modric. It's just the magic of Modric. It's like his teams find a way to win. There's just that players that have an it factor, and I can name off 100 U.S. sports players that you and I would know that have that same. Tom Brady is one of them. His talent has never equaled the championships that he's won. In my opinion, I still think he's the greatest winner of all time in American football.
No, I agree.
Modric is similar in that way. It's like he's not the best football player.
Never has been.
Never will. Except for his Ballon d'Or.
But I think a lot of that was one of those, like, it's almost like those Academy Awards that get given because, like, you had a pretty good movie this year, but like it's more for the things you've done the last 10 years and didn't quite win it. And you won a championship in that year, so like you can't tell me that year he was the best footballer in the world.
Part of it might have been like, oh, we have an opportunity to give it to somebody other than Messi and Ronaldo. Let's take it.
Right, exactly.
I didn't follow the sport very closely back then, but getting back to this game, I think, man, I'm just so impressed with Japan. The way they've played on the international level, the way this team has looked cohesive. I think with Japan and even with Korea, certainly with Korea also, actually, there's going to be some guys that get Premier League moves, Serie A moves. A lot of guys that have really had their coming out parties in this one. I think, Maeda. Who does Maeda play for? Celtic. I believe Celtic. Yeah.
Yeah, Celtic.
He another goal. He's 25. I don't know. Maybe he'll get like a Brighton move or something. I don't know. They're so fit, these Asian Confederation teams. They're fit, they're fast, low center of gravity, and I say that in the most respectful way possible. They're composed, and I just really love watching Japan play. I really do. And I love Croatia. I'm a Croatia fanboy. Like, I love Modric. I've said that several times, but I almost found myself pulling for Japan at some points in this game. And that's a testament to the way they play. And, they don't roll around on the floor. It's very it's a respectable sort of style of soccer. And it was awesome. And I'm a little upset they didn't end up pulling this one out.
Yeah. You were a big Rob Lowe NFL for the Shield hat kind of guy for this one. And I get it because for you, it was a tough decision. For me, I was all in on Japan. As you said, they've been a lot of fun to watch. The performances they put forward in group play were awesome. So I was super disappointed. Nothing against Croatia. Not
that Croatia is like a dislikable team in your
No, not at all. It's not at all like that. There's plenty of players on that side that I really enjoy watching. I'm a huge Perisic guy. He's my favorite second favorite Tottenham player behind Son. But I absolutely love watching Perisic play. The balls he can put in the box are just, I mean, it's some of the best balls you'll see in the Premier League, and I'm a huge fan of his. But for me, it was Japan all the way here. It was I was overly excited, probably seeing them get that goal right before half, and then equally overly heartbroken when Perisic got that goal right after half. So it was tough. And then, as we said, in our kind of disappointments or losers, not fair to Japan on that one, of the round of 16, it was a really disappointing penalty play or performance. So it stunk. I didn't like it, but it was kind of expected. I would have been pretty shocked if Japan did go through there, to be honest, just because Croatia seems to have that World Cup magic with Modric at the helm.
Yeah, Japan feels like a team at this point that you have no choice but to take them very seriously in every World Cup from here on out. I think, I wish we could have Nick on to talk more about it, like kind of the program, like we like to talk about the U.S. soccer program. It seems like if Japan makes a few tweaks here and there, maybe mentality-wise, they can be like a real player, maybe not finalist or winning it, but they can be a consistent quarterfinalist and really represent the Asian Confederation very well. Let's move on to England and Senegal, unless you have any other thoughts on Japan and Croatia.
No, that kind of wrapped it up.
Yeah, I did not watch this game. Kind of followed it on Twitter, but I mean, it looks like a good England performance. Dylan, did you get to watch this game?
Yeah, it was one of those had it on in the background kind of things, especially after halftime, because it was a very dominant English first half.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest takeaways for me from this was the starting lineup Southgate put out. I think the inclusion.
Foden, Kane, and Saka front line is so dumb.
Don't know why that wasn't happening previously, number one. Number two, there was a lot of hate given for the Jordan Henderson selection after the U.S. game. Well, for their next game, because he didn't start in the U.S. game. For me, I think, man, I don't like Jordan Henderson as a player, but this England team would not look this good without him. And it's
just that guy on the national, like he puts
it's
on
nothing that he even does like on the ball or off the ball, but he is a bulldog. And this England team is like was kind of missing that fight against the US. Like they just looked like they were there to kick the ball. It looked like a Sunday league team that came in first place, coming in against the last place team. We're just going to kick the ball around and have fun and not really like have that bulldog fight till the death mentality. And Jordan Henderson will always bring that. I don't think he's a very exceptional player by any stretch of the imagination.
He shouldn't be an English national team standard player.
Right, exactly.
Talent-wise.
Exactly. Like absolutely no business starting talent-wise on the starting 11, but he brings that like it factor to the side. And it's not even that it factor necessarily in production. It's more that it factor in the mentality and the effort he puts forth. And you can see how it rubs off on the team. So that was a gutsy move by Southgate that came with a lot of backlash from a lot of English fans that I saw on Twitter at the time. But, man, it's paid off really well, and they've looked really good since inserting him into the starting lineup. And Phil Foden, if he doesn't start every game for the rest of his career for England. Right, exactly. Like he's so useless. Even like he's the exact opposite of Henderson. Like their talent is there. Like there's no denying Mason Mount has lots of talent, but dude's work rate is next to nothing, has no like fight or grit in him.
His hit factor is next to nothing.
Is zero. Yeah. So seeing that switch was definitely a gutsy one. Based off of what I see on Twitter, at least. I don't follow the English national team close enough outside of Twitter to really know, but it seemed like a really gutsy move that paid off really well.
You don't see those, I'm following the Premier League. Like I get many English national team reactions.
No, for sure, but it's not something I ever like seek out. Like I'm not sitting there reading Guardian articles on the English national team and their selections and their structure.
Guardian is one of my bookmarks on my
I just don't go searching for it. If it pops up on my Twitter, I see it, but I don't go searching it out like I do.
Sure.
Your Brazil's, Italy's, or United States for me, is those are kind of the three national teams that I follow. But from what I saw on Twitter, it was a pretty risky move and a move that seemed to in my opinion, from the eye test pay off really well.
Yeah.
It seems weird that I say you can't not start Jordan Henderson the rest of a World Cup for a side as talented as England, but here we are. It's worked thus far.
Phil Foden had an unreal game when he puts together an 8.1 without a goal. That's ridiculous. I mean, you normally don't see over 8s unless there are goals involved. Speaking of goals, you English fans, Harry Kane finally got a goal. You've been clamoring for it, even though he leads the World Cup in assists.
I was going to say he's got 3 assists. If anybody's actually complaining about the lack of goals, like, they can kick rocks.
I think that Harry Kane, he's eventually, no matter how good of a striker he is, this might be a hot take, but I think to make to extend the longevity of his career, I think he's eventually going to drop back into more of a, maybe not a number 10, but he needs to play with a strike partnership because as he gets older, he's not going to be able to take on the physicality of scoring in the box as much. And I think it will.
So you mean like a Brazilian that has one of the craziest motors in the Premier League? Weird.
He's just such a fantastic creator. I want to talk about Kyle Walker for a second. 10 out of 13 long balls completed. I know we love Kieran Trippier. I think you could slide him on. I mean, Luke Shaw had a decent game. I mean, it's Luke Shaw. But I think you could slide Trippier over to the left side.
Honestly,
Kyle Walker also.
Trippier played like garbage in the group stage. Like he did. Like I am a trip, but like I went back and watched some of the isolated highlights of him that Newcastle people put, because even Newcastle, that's one of the things I like about Newcastle. They would be very honest. Like nobody was mad at him for his performance, but they're like, hey, this wasn't the Trippier we saw for Newcastle. And they were like isolated highlights of him, and he flat out just didn't look that good in group stage. So I think anybody leading up to the World Cup that said Kyle Walker would be starting round of 16 over Trippier would have been laughed at. Like nothing against Kyle Walker, but Trippier is arguably the best right back second best right back in the Premier League this season.
I thought Kyle Walker would get more minutes at center back.
Yeah, right. And that's what in our previews when we talked about England and their group was like, I think Kyle Walker fits that center back because he can play that center back. It's not like his most natural position, but he can play that because you're not going to bench Trippier. But Trippier played pretty poor, and I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see Trippier. I don't want to say not play another game, but like certainly I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see him start another game. Yeah. He's one of those guys that at this point will be a fantastic guy to bring on in extra time, in that 97th minute, because he has that long ball, that crossing ability, that free kick ability, but he's not a guy I expect to see to start because Kyle Walker has played very well for sure, which is a bummer. Although, flip side, Newcastle fan, he'll stay healthy. If him, Callum Wilson, Nick Pope, Bruno G never see the field again in the World Cup, at this point, part of me is like, yeah, sweet. We got a fully healthy team going into the second half. Like, I'll take it.
Yeah, you're a fool if you're a Premier League fan and not like, okay, he's back without injury. He's back without injury. He's back. Like, we've got Betjenker back. Now we've got Son back without injury. Now we're just Kane and Richarlison are like, just bubble wrap them and just get them home. Get them back to Hotspur Way. I mean, Harry Maguire, man, he's been good in this World Cup.
Yeah. It's that thing though. We all talked about it going up to it. Yeah. And like there are some guys that
like it just shows you like that's a real thing.
And he's the best example that I can think of offhand this World Cup, because he hasn't played at no point has he blown my socks off. Was it the Wales game?
He was pretty freaking good in the Wales. Was it? Well, he was
one of the games
good in the U.S.
Was it the U.S. game? One of the games he had like 8 of 8 aerial duels, 1 in the box or something like that, which is not a number.
We couldn't get anything on corners in our game versus England.
Terrible set piece play.
Sure.
Number 1. Number 2, we don't have a dude over 6 foot on the front line, I don't think. So, but still.
Pepe was at home wearing his Netherlands shirt.
That hurt so bad. I get it. It was a bet, but like it still hurt to see. Yeah. It really hurt to see. We can get into that a little bit though. Did you have any other thoughts on the Senegal England? I was bummed to see Senegal bow out in this form. Outside of Mendy, I love seeing goals blasted past Mendy, but I do like Diallo, Koulibaly, Sarr. Like I did kind of enjoy Senegal, so I was a little bummed. But
similar to the U.S., I think this is exactly what I expected out of Senegal once I heard Mane was out. I mean, with Mane, I think maybe they ran into an England team that was on form and good. So there, even with him, there was no hope.
Yeah.
If England wasn't at their best with Mane, I think they could have competed more in this game. I don't have anything else, though. Let's move on to France and Poland.
He is him.
Kylian Mbappe is that guy.
He is him. Do
we need to spend any time on this game? Honestly, like he is.
I was so mad. I was the outside of Mbappe is just an absolute world class player. Yeah. He's the best player in the world. Sorry, Haaland. Like he is. He's the best. Like Haaland, you can say is the best goal scorer. That's fine. Can't argue that. But the pace and the shot power and the creation that Mbappe brings is. It's hard to say I've seen something this good from a guy his size, like all around play in a while. It's absolutely filthy. The thing that did drive me nuts was the garbage penalty that Lewandowski got to score, because I don't know why, but in the last 2 years, I've just really grown to dislike Lewandowski. And you could ask me for reasons. I have no reasons. No,
I'm the same way.
I just don't like the guy. Something about him. It sounds bad. Like maybe he's just got a punchable face. Like that's a thing. I don't know. I just don't like the guy. So I was kind of bitter to see him.
I don't like Bayern very much.
Oh, see, that's not it for me, because I when he was at Bayern, it was I kind of enjoy Bayern. Like they're a lot of fun to watch.
Maybe it was his whole Bayern Barcelona situation for you. Maybe a little.
Maybe because I never hated him before, but now I'm I really don't like him. I can't root for him. I can't find a redeeming quality in him. So I was kind of bummed to see him get a garbage goal. It was his second. If it would have been his first of the tournament, I probably would have been a little bit more upset, because I would have loved to see him held goalless. Yeah. But
was his first goal a penalty too, though?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't think he scored an open play.
Jeez, okay, whatever. Yeah. I mean, I think the last thing to say about this game is
France is for real.
France is for real without the Ballon d'Or winner, Karim Benzema, without Christopher Nkunku, without probably a 100% Raphael Varane, without Paul Pogba, who's one of those guys when he puts on the French shirt. Say what you will about his Man United tenure, but he's a good player with his French shirt on. Without Conte, who's the same way, albeit older. Is still a team that can win the tournament, and that's kind of crazy to say.
You know what they do have though? They have Jules Koundé's chains.
Yeah,
dude was out there balling in two gold chains for 42 minutes before anybody did anything.
Let him finish the game with them.
That was one of the nastiest things I've ever seen. I've seen it before where guys will hide it in their compression shorts or in their sock or in their boot, and then throw it. Gets caught in the third minute though. Dude managed to get away with it for almost the whole half.
Yeah,
just absolutely absurd stuff, and it was awesome. If you haven't seen, I don't know why, it just has peak 80s, 90s, or Pele vibes, and I was here for it. I've decided we need to allow players to wear Gucci headbands like Saint Maximin, and we need to allow players wear not gold chains, but chains. Yeah, but a little something. It looked good. I like it. I don't know why we're against it. Injuries
be careful though, because Christian Romero will end up pulling those gold chains off at some point.
Hey, and that's and that's a risky run, just like dreads in the NFL. You want to wear dreads?
Who was it?
You're going to get tackled by them.
Was it Des Bryant that lost a $25,000 diamond necklace or something in a game?
Yeah. Hey, it's a risky run, man. You can make that choice if you want to look cool, and it will look cool, but you might lose it. You might get it ripped off, and that's part of it. But I'm here for it. That was awesome. France, they just have a vibe about them, not just the gold chain vibe, but they do have a scary vibe about them. And I don't think we'll spend a ton of time previewing the next round because we are kind of running long, but I'm super excited for that next matchup. I'm amped for France, England. There's that kind of natural rivalry there. I think this is a very good English side. This is a French side that seems just as good as their World Cup win in 18.
Is England a better team right now than France?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they don't have the best player in the world.
Yep,
so.
I agree.
And the best player in the world that doesn't have to score the most, because Giroud is on a scoring tear in the World Cup.
Yeah.
which is kind of fun to see.
It's funny, you know, Olivier Giroud, for those of you who don't know, he just broke Thierry Henry's French international goal scoring record. Dude's not even 10% as good as Thierry Henry.
No, not even
but
close.
he turns it on for the French team. It's fun. It's funny. And he's benefited from Benzema's injury because he might not have even gotten very many minutes.
No, he wouldn't have.
Had Benzema been healthy. So that's really all from France, Poland, safe travels home. Argentina, Australia, another game that I don't even really want to talk about. Like Messi, great goal. Awesome.
Yeah.
Dude's turning it on. He wants to win the World Cup. And he's not going to deter his team or, you know, create these Ronaldo situations. I want Messi to win this World Cup. And I think most soccer fans who don't have a rooting interest probably do. If you're not a Ronaldo fan.
And if you are, unsubscribe. No, just kidding. We would need all the subscribers we can get, but just hate listen us because there will be no Ronaldo love on this podcast.
Give us some hate comments. Australia, I mean, they tried the Morocco thing and it didn't work quite as well. It wasn't bad. I mean, they never looked like completely outmatched. They just got kind of beat by a better team.
Well, because this is a more experienced and composed attack in Argentina than Spain.
Yeah.
I think I honestly think Australia
have Messi.
Well, right. But I also think Australia put a very, very good performance in.
Yeah.
It probably should have been 3-1. 3-0 rather. But I do think it was a very solid performance from Australia. They did the best they were going to be able to do against this side. For me though, there's I don't know, I can't even necessarily put a finger on it. There feels like there's something missing from this Argentina side. We'll get into the Netherlands a little bit, but I don't get me wrong. I want Argentina to beat Netherlands, but there's just something that
Are you predicting Netherlands right now?
I'm not. I need to dig in because if I do it now, then I have to put a bet pick out, and then I lose money. I will do some research on it.
Just for the
follow
record,
me
you guys,
on Twitter.
Also, while we're talking about Dylan is self-conscious being on camera on TikTok, so I'm gonna have to post his betting slips now.
So I follow one of.
I'm obviously the better looking one, so that's fine. I'll put my face out there. I'm just kidding.
I follow one of these Barstool guys. I follow one of these Barstool guys that posts. He's got a whole Instagram of just embarrassing TikToks, and I think that's what scarred me from posting on TikTok. I'm I can't end up on this shit post TikTok page. I can't do it.
Betting TikTok is huge. So actually,
I'm not even a part of I'm all in on betting Twitter, but I have no knowledge of betting TikTok. So maybe I'll have to get in on betting TikTok and see the stuff they're putting out to get ideas. But I'm not ready. I'm not ready to say to bring it back to Netherlands and Argentina. I'm not ready to say Argentina can advance against Netherlands. I mean they're favored. I think they're plus 110 right now. To win, not even to advance, just to win in regulation. And that's a number I'm certainly not taking them at against this Dutch side because I was very impressed with the Dutch side against the U.S. I think some of that was the U.S. was a little in over their heads, but I do think some of that was also this Dutch side finally, finding that midfield and that was kind of the question for them in group was a lot of Gakpo up front and Depay up front, and that midfield didn't look very good. But I am a little worried for Argentina. It's honestly probably a game I'll stay away from outside of goal total. But yeah, that was a game when we were predicting brackets at the beginning. I was super confident Argentina would advance from that, and now I'm pretty on the fence. I really think it's closer to a coin flip than either of us would have seen going into the tournament. Just the way Argentina's performed, not only the loss against Saudi Arabia, but really just the eye test in some of those other matches, even against Australia. It's a game I would have expected them to look closer to the, Portugal versus Switzerland side of things than only winning by one goal. So I'm not at all saying they're going to be eliminated by Netherlands, but it is a little less comfortable than I would like it as a Messi fan, because I'm with you. Sign me up for a Brazil-Argentina semifinal because that is absolutely electric. And
Like you could
B,
potentially have England, France in the quarters, and then Brazil, Argentina. Like those both feel like finals.
yeah, right. And then the winner of Brazil, Argentina could end up facing, France or Portugal. Like there's just some electric matchups that we could look at, but I'm just not fully ready to say it's a walk for Argentina like I am with Brazil in that half of the bracket.
Yeah, I think this Argentina team might be missing a Sergio Aguero, like a goal scorer striker. Their back line has felt pretty secure to me all tournament. Sergio Aguero's obviously, had to cut his career a little bit short because of health issues. 34 years old, he would be on this team most likely. You know why they call him Kun Aguero? I just looked this up. It's taken.
I was a big Sergio Aguero fan too, and I don't know.
Taken from a Japanese cartoon he used to watch as a child, where the main character was called Kum Kum.
That is epic. Even more reason to like him. He's just an anime fan. That's kind of cool.
Argentina's good, and I expect them to advance, not comfortably by any means. Maybe PKs, but they've underwhelmed me so far this tournament. I think it's the best way to put it.
And what's weird is, like, going into the tournament, you, me, and damn near everybody was like, they finally gave Messi people that can score.
Yeah.
Julian Alvarez does have 2 goals. I think Lautaro Martinez has 1. Like, it's just not – I think part of it for me is I wasn't quite sure the formation they would come out in. And I think putting Messi so far forward when we've seen how good he is in the midfield, that attacking midfield that he's been playing at PSG was a little bit surprising to me. I think they – again, I'm not trying to question the Argentine manager on how to play with Messi, but for me, I would probably look to drop him back and allow Lautaro and Julian Alvarez to be my goal scorers up front and play with a Di Maria and a Messi kind of more back playmaking style. And we just haven't seen that from them yet. And I think that could be why they've felt a little underwhelming from that goal scoring perspective, because we just didn't quite expect them to play Messi where they've been playing him. I don't know. It's just something just doesn't feel right yet.
I think that's the way they came out against Saudi Arabia, and they might have a little bit of PTSD from that now. They dropped Messi back. He played those through balls and those offsides. I mean, I got into a little bit of a tiff with somebody on TikTok. I haven't even checked the comments. I need to go back and look and see what he ended up saying. Luck and execution of Saudi Arabia can mutually exist. Like, you can be lucky and also execute a perfect game plan. Saudi Arabia had to have a team like Saudi Arabia.
Offside trap
has to have luck to beat Argentina.
Yeah, and part of offside traps, and that's what they implored on it, is luck. Part of it is absolutely skill and Martinez's the game plan elbow, and
this much of his elbow was offsides. That's luck.
Right. And it's also part game plan, part skill, part execution, but you can't deny part of it's luck too. So yeah, I would love to see Argentina go back to that. I don't think they will necessarily. I don't think the Dutch are necessarily a side I would do that against, because they can. You've got those center backs, but I think the Dutch play so wide. I think they do sneak in between. Yeah,
you can draw at least offensively, which Messi doesn't do much defensively. But sorry, I completely interrupted you. But I just saw the Dutch play so wide. It's like you can drop Messi maybe a little bit more into that right mid center attacking mid role.
Just so much for me. The only fear in doing it against the Dutch is so much of their style. We didn't necessarily see it against the U.S., but so much of their style is so free flowing. So if those balls don't necessarily work, the ability to counter quickly would kind of scare me if you do press multiple guys forward to make those runs. But I think you'd have more success with it against Netherlands than Brazil. So if you're going to try it, the next game would be the time to try it. But that is the one thing I think for Argentina that has been a little bit surprising to me is how they have utilized Messi. And I think part of that has been because of, as you said, a little bit of worry the way that worked out that first game. But I would hope that you would trust your system and trust your training and trust your tactics and move forward with the way you think the team is best suited to to move forward long term.
Yeah. We'll kind of use that to transition to the Netherlands. Just talking real quick, we want to talk about the game versus the U.S. because we already have. I think another reason maybe you don't play Messi so far up front is because they subbed on Matthias de Ligt in the 90th minute, and that's just their center back depth. The strength of that team is their center back depth and their center back talent. I think one thing in talking about the game, Denzel Dumfries, the dude, I mean, he put on a show. So, you know, I think that's what stands out to me about the Netherlands team. Do you have anything? I mean, Netherlands look good, and we've said they can beat Argentina. And that's what kind of I took from the U.S. game is, look, this can happen. So,
yeah, they looked the best they've looked. I think was against the U.S. and I think, as you said, it's the most confident I've been in the Netherlands
words are hard,
thus far.
Words are hard.
You started that way. I'll end the episode that way. And I think part of the recency bias against Argentina and the tactics they've employed has me much more coin flip on this game than I would have expected a week ago or a month ago. So it's honestly, it's probably this game and then the England-France game are the two games I have circled that I'm most excited for this quarterfinals round.
It's going to be a fun quarterfinals round, guys. We hope that we gave you guys some insight on what we saw in round of 16. We hope you're learning more and more about international soccer. As always, we appreciate the listens, appreciate the views. Like, subscribe, share, comment, follow, all that. We'll talk to y'all later this week. Again, if you haven't watched the U.S. versus Netherlands recap, go watch that. I'm going to post that one before this one, so it will be up. And we'll talk to y'all later this week after the quarterfinal round. Thanks, guys.